Hello and welcome to another episode. Thanks for joining me. It's new camera day. New camera day is always, for me, really exciting. Let me show you what I bought. So if you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you'll know that I'm now very firmly a Nikon guy. So my main kit, I've got a Z8, this is the 14 to 30 f4 on here. I've also, as a backup, when I went to Lofoten, if you remember, I used to use a Z7 II, and this became my backup camera. The Z8 is my main camera. Bought the Z8 to go with the Z7 for two reasons. First of all, it's got Nikon lenses, which I had a load of for the Z7 II, and also I wanted to do a little bit of wildlife photography, and there's been a few vlogs on the channel featuring birds, garden birds and things like that, and the autofocus on this is a load better than it is for this. Most of my stuff is landscapes. Both of these cameras are brilliant for landscapes, and the reason they are really good for landscapes is because of the 45 megapixel sensor. It's the same in both, apart from it's backlit on this one. So I'm really happy with the Nikon files, really happy that I can get a wide dynamic range, really happy with all of my landscapes that I shoot, mostly at sunrise. I've also got this, which is my main lens. I use this most of the time. This is the 24-200, and I've also done a video on that. If you want to go and see that, I'll put a link in the description for you to go and have a look at and check it out. But really pleased with this kit. I haven't got it with me, I've also got a 100-400 Sigma lens, which I use when the FX mount. I don't do a lot of telephoto, but as I'm getting more into bird photography, I'm certainly going to need it. So that's the other bit that goes with it. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about today is my new camera, and I've got my new camera to use for a couple of reasons, really. First of all, I'm quite like in the middle of summer doing macro photography, specifically inset photography, and I'll show you the camera in a second. You'll understand why I've said that. And the other thing I like to do maybe sometimes is a bit of astro, a bit of star trailing, some of that kind of stuff. So you probably already guessed what it is. There's a video again in my back catalogue comparing one with a Z8, and that camera is this. Let's just take the lens off so I can show you. This is the Olympus, or the OM Systems OM1. It's Olympus OM1 actually, it's now OM Systems. And I had, if you remember, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that I had for a while been borrowing an OM1 Mark II, which is an OM Systems camera, and really enjoyed it. I've also had, before this, an M1X Olympus, and I was using that for macro photography. Really enjoyed the setup of that. The problem with the M1X is it was quite heavy, had a built-in drive along the bottom here, an extra battery pack, which made it quite heavy, and I found it quite hard to balance. So I've decided that I've traded that in. I've kept the 60mm macro, which is a beautiful little lens for this system, and I bought an OM1. So the reason for using this for macro photography, there's a few reasons. First of all, it's lighter than either the Z8 or the Z7. The Z7 doesn't focus very well, so I'd have to use it on manual. Not at the end of the world, you can do that. Z8 would probably cope with it on autofocus, but if I compare these and hold both of these, and I'll put the weights up here in a second, that is so much heavier than that to carry around. So this is a lot lighter. The little 60mm macro is incredibly light, incredibly easy to use. It's got a little 1:1 ratio switch on here, which you can quickly put into place. So it's lighter is the first thing. The second thing that it has that the Z or the Nikon system doesn't have is this has focus stacking, or the focus bracketing that you can see. Focus stacking and focus bracketing. The image stays on the screen during the whole sequence of images, which is brilliant. The Z8, as soon as I press the button, it will focus stack automatically, but the screen goes dark. And if you're hand holding this, and you're hand holding it with an insect trying to get the distance correct, that's quite difficult, or it's a little bit harder to use, put it that way. So this is really great for macro. The other good thing about the micro four thirds system is that the depth of field is comparatively, compared with the full frame format, deeper. So the depth of field is deeper, which means that you can get more things in focus. Now, if I were going to photograph an insect purely as one image, I guess both camera systems would be good. This would be easier to carry around during the day because it's quite light. But if you want to try and focus stack insects, this is definitely the system to look at. So I've set all the custom buttons up. I love the custom 1, custom 2, custom 3, custom 4 buttons on the top here. Really useful. And I've set custom 1 and custom 2 purely for macro photography, and I'm pairing it with the Godox 350-0, which is Olympus dedicated, and it just slips onto the hot shoe here, and this diffuser, that bit, just clips around the lens, around the front, and it's a really lovely setup. It's so easy to use, so light, and you can take it with you for quite a long time. You've got this little flippy out screen, which is great as well. And also this is going to be brilliant because I've still got the 12 to 40mm standard lens with this, and I'm going to use this in the winter for some star trail photography as well. So really excited to use it. I love having a new camera. It always gives me a little bit of a kind of a pick me up. It gets rid of those photography blues that you have sometimes. I can't be bothered to get out. Having a new camera, using it, is really great for that. So keeping the Nikon gear. The Nikon gear is going to be my landscape gear, my wildlife photography gear, but this little beast is going to be brilliant for macro photography. So let's take this out into the field, and I'll talk to you about some of the techniques that I've been using to try and get pictures like this. And out of the field, so light to use. I mean, I'm not saying you can't use a Z8 for this or a Z7. In fact, any camera, every manufacturer does a macro lens, but that is just, you take my word for it, such a lovely light setup. The OM1 is definitely lighter than the OM1X that I used to use. I mean, that was quite heavy. I've got the camera strap on, and I've had so many comments on my videos about camera straps. For this, it works really well because you can, oops, flies around, lock it like this. You can use it as a bit of a rest, and technique wise you can do different things. I've got back button focusing enabled, and I've got single focus or manual focus with single override. So what I can do is I can override the manual focusing by just focusing with the autofocus, and I don't use the focus stacking on this, because what that does is starts in the middle and then it does a series of pictures forward and back, and then it stitches it together and gives you one JPEG. Now I'd rather use raw files, so I use focus bracketing, and what that does is you focus on the closest point, and then it will take a series of pictures until you press the button again, the shutter release again, when it will stop. And then what I'll do is select the ones I want to use in Photoshop and put them together. There are other bits of software, and I think at some point I might do a video on that as to what works best. But the good thing about this camera is also you've got this flippy screen, so you can hold the camera away from you. You can still see what you're doing. This lovely diffuser works quite well, and all it is a question of finding the insect, of which there are loads, and literally just firing it off. I hope you can see that. You're not in focus, but there we go. And that's That's how it works. Sometimes if I'm doing a single exposure or a single without a focus stack, I can turn focus stack is tacking off by using one of the quick release buttons or the function buttons on the front here. Turn that quickly off and just shoot one picture. And often, and the other good thing about this 60mm lens is you can quickly flick it to 1:1. That's a magnification of 1:1 now, and in other words, life size. So I can do that, rock forward with the camera, and then literally just try and hold it still. And I can do a series of focus brackets, which might end up being single pictures because I'm rocking it in and out of focus. But that works really well. So here comes some images that I've shot with this over the last few weeks. In fact, most of them have been shot in my back garden, which has been brilliant fun. So here they come. Let me know what you think, and until next week, so thanks very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, think about doing so, and I'll see you next Sunday at 6. Right, take some more pictures. Ta-da.